Okay, so I'm probably gonna do this in like one take, and this might be relatively long, but I want to discuss my journey on getting to the 2 month point on HRT, which on February 11th I hit my 2 month point. Right now my like setup is a little janky. I have like a mirror so I can see the camera, but like it's whatever. Okay. I want this to be candid, so I didn't do any makeup or like cover up or anything, so you can see like my facial hair growth and where that's at this point. I have a lot of breakouts, and I really don't know if it's due to HRT or what the deal with that is. I've like stepped up my skincare regimen recently, so we can try to get that in check. Okay, I do want it to be candid, but I did write out like kind of like a timeline of leading up to this moment right here. So so back in October, it's probably closer to the end of October. I also have like my calendar, which I wrote some dates in, so this kind of will help. Forgot about this. Okay, so on September 30th, I actually came out to my parents as trans, which it wasn't terrible. It was actually, I came out to my mom first in her bedroom, not knowing that my dad was in the restroom, and so I told her, and she's very supportive. Just asked some questions, kind of gauging like, okay, where I'm at in my mindset. And then my dad came out, and I'm like, well, I didn't mean to have this conversation right now, but here we go. And I told my dad, and it was more difficult. He immigrated to the U.S. from Guatemala when he was like 2, and then was raised in an environment where machismo was very ingrained. Like he wasn't allowed to have any feminine presenting qualities or anything like that because it was seen as lesser. So that kind of got taught out of him at a young age. My guess. We haven't really talked about it, and I don't know if we ever will. But he was a military man, whatever. So like it wasn't great. It wasn't warm hugs, welcoming. It was very much like I love you. I want you to be who you are. But not a lot of emotion there. And then he did kind of say that I was going to get AIDS, but that we told him how that was wrong and like how that's a very outdated thought. So that was kind of covered. Anyways, it wasn't the best, and we're still growing and working through it, which I do kind of want to talk about. I don't know if I'll talk about it in this video or another video. Anyways, so I came out to my parents September 30th, so I'm guessing either a week or two before that, I told one of my like best friends, Azul, we were talking on the phone, and just like I knew that I was gonna have to be moving back home, which I kind of wasn't looking forward to because when I lived in LA for a couple months, that's like when I've had the biggest growth in my gender expression, and so I was really sad to be moving back home. And then I like was tearing up and just like told them I was trans femme, and that was the first time I really even said it. And then soon after that, I don't even know if I wrote it into my calendar, but I did tell I think it was that week too, probably like the next day or something, that I told one of my like best friend, Birdie. And so obviously she was great. And then all my friends, once I told them that I was a trans woman, they were all really great. They've been great. So like, okay, now, sorry, this is all out of whack. Before that, I would say beginning of 2018 is when I started exploring my gender expression and who I am. I'm not going to post pictures. I was thinking about it. I really don't want to post pictures to my previous, like my dead self. I just don't think it's beneficial. I'll probably make jokes about it in the future TikToks because I like have one that I think is going to be really funny that me and B were talking about. But besides the point, I'm not going to post pictures here. But anyways, the end of February, so coming up to a year, I went to Paris by myself. It was a solo trip, amazing experience. That was the first time I wore women's clothes every single day, and it was the most like fulfilling thing I could have ever done for myself. I got called Madame twice by strangers and men on top of that, and it was just an amazing experience, and got to really reaffirm my gender. And at that time, I was still considered myself non-binary. And at that time on social media, a couple months prior to that, I would say, yeah, a couple months prior to that, I like took down my like dead name all off of social media and put a name. I was using Hito, which is what my grandma would call me and my brothers. And so I was using that and took off my dead name and kind of disassociated from that because I've always had that feeling, but I finally like put it into action. So yeah, that was like over a year of not really associating with I just used it. My dead name. I just caught myself. Whatever. Disassociating from my dead name and not really using that. When I went out, I didn't introduce myself as my dead name. I introduced myself as Hito and all that. And then probably around the beginning of 2018 is, or was it 2019? 2019 is when I was identifying as non-binary and living my life as that and exploring different genders. I definitely leaned more feminine, obviously, and then I was just dressing in women's clothes at my work. I worked at a women's boutique, so I was wearing women's clothes that whole time. Not the whole time. There was some iffy areas, but for the rest of like 2019, which is when I went to Paris, the rest of 2019, I only wore women's clothes when I went to work. And then I also started like taking out all the men's clothes out of my closet. I was still identifying as non-binary up until September, so like mid-September. And then I don't know if this is the point. I think around October is when I finally got all my doctor stuff transferred over to the LGBT center. Yeah. Okay, let me think. I'm trying to figure out the timeline. So yeah, all of 2019 dressing in women's clothes. And then in like June of 2019, I decided that I didn't like my facial hair, so I wanted to laser hair removal. So this was 2019 June. I'm almost at a year of laser hair removal. This is where I'm at right now. I just had a session earlier today, so I don't really look red, actually. I'm looking in the mirror right now. That's where my eyes are. But there's been a lot of progress. I used to grow like a full beard, so like I have like no hair on my cheeks. It's really like this section right here that like is taking a while for the hair to go away. So I started that in June, and then September I finally came out, and then by October I got all my doctor's information switched over. I have like the WEO campus stuff that I was talking about, to the LGBT Center in Los Angeles, which has the amazing services. I highly suggest anyone going there. Unfortunately, they did take away their free STD checkings. I think you could, if you have insurance, you could probably still get free STD screenings, but for people who are just like walking off the street, you can't, unfortunately. I don't know what the fees are, and I'll do some research, and then let me make a note of that, and I'll put them in my description below. STG. I told you, I'm not cutting this. I'm not editing. I hate editing, so this is just gonna be one long clip. Anyways, so by October, I started getting everything switched over, and then so I can start talking to a doctor about HRT, which even my friend B can attest to. I've been talking about HRT 6 months prior to that, and all of like towards the end of 2018, all through 2019, I was watching trans videos and like learning more about the trans femme experience, just because I wasn't sure if that was quite me. Like all my search history says, am I a trans woman? Am I a trans woman? Going through Reddits, which I do want to talk a lot about because Reddit has been my main source of, not my main source, but it has been like a really guiding source of information with other trans femme people. So then my first doctor visit was in November, but my dumb ass thought I didn't have to show up 2 hours before, like they said. So I got there like 15 minutes before my appointment. I didn't get to see a doctor. I started crying. It was awful. My mom came with me to my first doctor's appointment that I didn't even get to see a doctor, but I watched all the videos that they make you watch, which discusses HRT, the effects of HRT, the different types of HRT. You can probably find, I already knew all this information going in because I've watched so many videos. So this wasn't anything that I didn't already know. And they make you sign all this paperwork about like signing over your rights, that you're given consent to go under HRT, because in California, if you are an adult, you can give informed consent where they inform you on all the side effects and everything that comes along with HRT, and you consent to going under treatment. You don't have to get recommendations from a psychologist. You don't need any of that, which I do think can be very beneficial for some people. For me, I really don't feel like I needed those extra steps. Honestly, I think that would have caused me a lot more stress and pain than I already needed, because I already went 20 years of my life like questioning my gender and dealing with all that, and then to be met with more barriers, like I don't know if I needed that. And we'll see, these are gonna go online, so if I do transition, then we all get to see it here. But let me just tell you, I am very happy where I'm at now, and everyone that knows me will attest to it. So signed all the paperwork. I then called a little bit later to make my next appointment, which is in December, which I finally got to meet my doctor. So December 3rd, I met with my doctor, who's an amazing man. He's really sweet. Just made me feel so comfortable. That was like the second time, my pediatrician back when I was younger made me feel so comfortable. And after that, I've never had doctors that I really not related to, but felt comfortable being around. Let me see. Sorry if I'm talking fast. I'm also trying to fit all this in so you guys don't have to so it's not too long. So by December 3rd, I got my hormones, and this is where we should talk. Something I really want to talk about. I made, I wrote a short essay about it and about my experiences with doing this, and that was very hard for me. So I made the decision to sperm bank. I'm very grateful for the privileges I'm given, and I am in a very privileged place to be able to do sperm banking before I take my hormones. Let me tell you, that whole week leading up until sperm banking and being able to finally take my hormones was like the longest week of my life. As soon as I got home that day, I started looking into sperm banking, which I kind of did before that because I had a talk with my friend about doing it, and I finally found a place that was really awesome. They gave an LGBT discount for sperm banking, and so I said, let's do this. Now, the process of sperm banking was excruciating for me personally. You fill out all this information, you meet with a guidance, I want to say guidance counselor, but that's not the word, but they guide you through the process and what to expect and what they suggest for sperm banking. They suggest multiple sessions. So after that, they give you your cups where you take your urine samples and your sperm samples, and you go into a room with all straight male pornography, a TV, a chair, and you can't use lubricant, you can't use spit, anything. They need dry samples so you don't contaminate the sperm. So then you're in a room doing the deed to get this out, and everyone knows what you're doing in that room. And let me tell you, that was the most dysphoric state I've ever been in. It was god-awful for me personally, and just that sent me into a really deep depression. And that whole day was I don't really remember that day, and I don't remember taking my hormones that day, which they suggest to do multiple sessions, but after that one session, I said, that's all I need. I didn't even really want to save my sperm to begin with. I just thought it would be better to leave the door open if I ever did want to have biological kids, which is not something something I still don't want and have never really wanted at all. But you don't know how hormones are going to change your mind and what you will be feeling like 10 years down the line. So I did that, and then I'll insert the clip of me taking hormones. So I think you can tell in that instance that I was not feeling my best. My hair was different too. And I took my hormones on the 11th. And that was like a full week after finally getting them prescribed, which that day I got it prescribed. I picked them up from the pharmacy and they were just sitting on my desk. It was awful. And then I started my hormone journey on January 11th. And let me tell you, it has been a roller coaster. It's really great. Honestly, I feel so much better and so much more in myself than I have ever felt. I was recently looking back on photos of me pre-transition and even before coming to terms with being trans, and I looked like an empty vessel. Like I remember being that person, but I don't remember me looking like that person. I don't remember me like ever feeling happy as that person. And even before I came out as trans and as the woman that I am, I'd like tried out every different type of guy that you can be. And it was funny, my friend and I were talking about this. Like, I tried every different men's style that you could possibly think of until I finally just gave up, grew out my beard, and hated myself. And then finally now I'm here and so happy. I can honestly say I've never been happier. There's still things that my dysphoria won't let me get over and that I'm still working through, but I am happier and I'm glad that I'm at the point that I am now. I am living with my parents, which I thought was probably the best thing for me to do. If I'm given the opportunity to do it, might as well take up that opportunity, because HRT is, and transitioning is a really big like mental hurdle to go through. Your hormones are changing your mind. You're finally coming to terms with who you are, and the struggles of living on your own are a lot to encapsulate. And I'll say it again, I am very privileged of the opportunities that I am given for my transitions. So I am living at home. Right now I'm working like really occasionally freelance work for a florist. Now that we're caught up, let's see, what do I want to talk about? So changes that I've noticed on HRT within 3 weeks, which I have, they usually say it's within the first 3 weeks that you kind of notice it. But I would say even like within like the 2 weeks going on to 3 weeks. Sorry, oh my gosh. I don't know what happened. My allergies have been ham. I was recently sick and now my allergies are crazy. I'm actually going to stop this and then pick up again. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to clean myself off camera. This is candid. This is just like real ass bitch right here. I'm probably on camera the whole time, but it doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't care. So within like 2 weeks leading into 3 weeks, I started feeling a little bit of tenderness. It's not nearly where it is now, but in my breast. And then 1 month it really hit. And now like 1 month leading into 2 months, it does hurt to kind of hug people at times if they give me like a really big hug. I usually try to stay away from really big hugs because I just don't want to deal with it. Yesterday in class, I've noticed that they just started like kind of feeling sore. Like I wasn't touching them or anything and they just felt sore. And I'm like, ooh, why in class right now? As this boy keeps on staring at me, he keeps glancing over and he's not coming over and telling me how pretty I am because I know I looks good. Anyways, so nipple tenderness, there is definitely like, I'm like, should I come up? You can see my nipples. There is definitely like growth under the nipples, like the buds. I can't tell if like there has been fat growth. It does feel kind of like squishier. I've always kind of been like squishy around my like chest area. But that's like one of the biggest notices, other than like mental state, being able to cry, eat more. I have dreams about me crying like all the time. It's crazy. And then let's see, what else? I don't know if I've like, I'm in jeans right now. I don't know if I have had butt growth. Now let me just tell you, I'm like showing you my ass. It does feel squishier than what I remember, but I don't know if that's like a mental trick that I'm playing on myself or what is going on. Also, like with hairline stuff, I haven't, sorry, like breakouts. I have a scar right here as well. I feel like I have been seeing, I don't have photos to compare, like more hair growth in this area. My hair grows really pretty fast. So we'll see. After 6 months, we'll really be able to tell. Let me just say for everyone, 2 months is very early to notice changes. You notice very minuscule things, and a lot of it is just your mental, like, is that changing? Is that not? And it could very well not be, but the feeling you feel on estrogen is like, oh, I'm excited. Like, yes, I think I'm changing. I feel more womanly. For sure, hair growth. Hair growth is changing. My skin, I can't tell if it feels softer, honestly. I moisturize like every day. But hair growth, I don't grow hair as fast, which I've noticed. I haven't shaved my arms in a couple days. And even though I'm doing laser hair removal, I do feel like it's like growing slower, which is nice. I still grow the amount of hair. I just feel like it's a lot slower. Let's see. Honestly, there aren't that many changes other than just feeling more myself and feeling happy. When I look into the mirror, there's that times when I'm like, oh, I wish my face looked different. Can't wait for FFS. And, you know, as toxic as it may be, I will be getting surgeries. I just know that I want them. I do want FFS, and I will talk about it. I do want to reduce my my brow ridge. Like, it's just something that I know will make me feel better. And I think we need to... You don't have to do it. It's not a necessity to be a woman in any way. And my friends do a really good job at, like, reminding me, like, you are a woman. Like, there's, even when I'm feeling like the most shit about myself, feeling like imposter syndrome, they're like there to support me. That's one thing you need to have going into this, is find a support system. Like, find those people that are gonna lift you up, who saw you for who you are from the beginning, even pre-transition. Like, that's gonna be hard, but like, if you're questioning it, find those people that you've always felt comfortable with and that always saw you for who you truly are and not the facade that you put up, and keep those people close, because those are the people that are gonna make you feel the most you at any stage of your transition and validate you 100%. I have my group and I'm 100% grateful. I'm glad to say that, like, while our relationship hasn't always been the strongest, I've had a close connection with my mom, and she's one of those people in my group that I know I can count on and make me feel the best that I am. I know there's things that I want to talk about, but now that I'm like sitting here, I feel like those will be better in like full videos. I do want to talk about like experiences with parents and what that's like. I recently had a conversation with my dad about using my name and pronouns, because it's been 4 months since I told him that I was trans, and he hasn't really made that big of an effort, and I'll discuss that in a whole nother video because that's gonna be long. Let's see. Sorry, I'm clicking my pen. Oh, picking names. So I didn't even introduce myself going into this, but as you're on my channel, you can see on the little like icons below. My name's Natalie Ann, and picking my name was so fun. I don't know, should I just make this into a whole new video? I'm gonna make it in a short video. We'll talk about that later. Oh, okay, changes. I still want to talk about changes. This is, I don't even know how long this is. I honestly, whatever. If you're still watching, good on you. I'll put like, whatever, who cares? Things that people don't really talk about and that I had to find on Reddit forums. Within the first week, and I'm glad that I got my sperm baking done before I took my hormones, but not first week, first 3 weeks, your sperm changes. It gets runnier. Like, it's before it ran, but it can still hold itself. It runs like water. It just runs off you. It's way messier, but it's clear. So that's the thing. Your sperm is clear because it's no longer producing the things that are going to be making babies. Mind you, this possibility for sperm cells to still be in your like clear ejaculate is there. You can still possibly have babies. There's talks of trans women having sex with trans men, or even women and having a baby. So it's still there. Use protection if you're gonna be topping anyone. I don't have to deal with that. So that changes. And then something that I didn't know was a change, no one talked about, and I kind of freaked out for a second, but the underside of your penis. So, unfortunately, which honestly I don't really care because I'm not going to use it ever, I was circumcised. So I'm not talking about that section. Not talking about the little scar that you get from circumcision. But, is this inappropriate? This is educational. They can't flag this. This area, those are huge balls. I don't know if you can see it. Like right here, gets darkened. It's already a darker skin color, but it gets darker. And when I noticed that, I'm like, oh my God, is something bad happening? Am I tucking too much? Like, am I being too aggressive? When I tuck, do I need to like start taking like breaks? Which I always suggest taking breaks because it's never safe to want to tug all day long. It's really hazardous. So don't do it. But I was freaking out. So I obviously checked online, went to Reddit, and that is like the area where you fused as a child. So like every child is, before hormones are introduced, are like appear the same as a female and appear biologically female. Then hormones are introduced, that seals up. That area where it seals, that's the area that's darkening. So your original vagina, that's making its appearance again. I didn't know that happened. I'm still going to talk to my doctor, so I am not the medical expert. I have to preface everything I say. I'm not a medical expert. I will be talking to my doctor about this, which always talk to your doctor if you're ever concerned about anything about this phenomenon and get their input, and then I can better talk to you guys about it. But that's what I've noticed, and that's what I've heard from Reddit. Yeah. Other than that, really, like, most of the changes within this time and what I've gathered from consensus from, like, other trans femme people who are making videos and on Reddit, that this whole period within the couple months is mostly mental transition. And you will be coming into your... Ooh, my skin does feel much softer. You will be coming into yourself and learning your body in new ways and learning who you are in new ways. And it's one of the most beautiful things ever. And I'm so glad that I am at an age where I can experience it to the fullest. I am 22 years old, and that's when I began my transition and medical transition. And I guess like 21 to 22 was more social. But I started the heavy lifting of transition at 22, and I'm at a mental state where I already been through my first puberty, whatever, where now I'm emotionally adept to handle what I'm dealing with and really be introspective about the whole ordeal. I do journal quite often so I can keep up to date. I don't have any measurements. I did take measurements not too long ago, and I will do that again just to see the changes in size. I'm not expecting myself, my mom got big boobs, but I'm not expecting myself to grow too much, so I will be getting surgery. And I do feel like I am growing in the hip area a little bit more, but I need to take measurements and check. Anyways, I don't really think there's much to talk about. I will be making other videos on the other topics that I really want to discuss, such as name changing, and then like the hurdles of talking to your parents about using your correct name and pronoun. And yeah, I hate ending things in "and yeah," but I don't know. That's what our generation does. Okay. This has been actually really fun and like really relieving to do. And I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm glad I finally actually just set it up and did it. No makeup. I'm always like, oh, I need to have a fresh beat. But no, I want you guys to be able to see the changes, especially when it comes to like hair loss and what that is like. I'm already months and months and months into my laser hair removal, so I definitely have less hair than when I would have been before, but I wasn't in the right mental place to be talking about transitioning. But now that I am, you get to see where I'm at, and we can see the changes. Hopefully we see clear skin for the future.